What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Let's kick things off with the NHL playoffs from last night. Florida Panthers absolutely annihilate the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-1. Was 4-0 through two periods and did not stop there. Florida cruises to a victory. Sergei Bobrovsky continues to play some excellent hockey. He has been lights out these last three games. 31 saves for him. Golden assist for Jesper Boquist. 2 assists for Sam Reinhart in the game. Florida now is lead 3 games to 2. They've won 3 in a row since going on 2 games to 0. Once trailing up 2, I was like, they're going to blow this lead, aren't they? I had a feeling. Once Florida came back and won game 3, I was pretty positive that the series was going to belong to Florida. That's what it looks like, as they are now a game away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals for the third straight year. Of course, they were in the Cup final the last 2 years. 2 years ago, you lose to Vegas. Last year, you get it done, beating Edmonton in 7 games. And Florida looks like they're heading back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the Edmonton Oilers beat the Vegas Golden Knights 1-0 in overtime. Kasperi Kapanen with the only goal in the game winner in overtime. 24 save shot for Stuart Skinner, who has stepped in for Calvin Picker, who's been nicked up the last couple of games. And he has overall done a pretty good job. He 24 save shutout last night. Aiden Hill 31 saves in the loss. Edmonton beats Vegas in 5 games. That's a really resilient group. Crazy, a goalie team of Calvin Pickard and Stuart Skinner has these last 2 years has last year in the Cup final and now is heading back to the Western Conference Finals. Kind of crazy, but their team is just so good. You have probably 2 best players in hockey, in McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You have a bunch of other guys in that forward group, whether it's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Evander Kane. Corey Perry can still play even thinking in his 40s. Defensively, guys like Darnell Nurse. On the back end, Evan Bouchard. And that team is really, really good. They're well coached by Chris Knobloch. He's been there about a year and a half now. He's done a great job. He was the HL coach for the Rangers for a while before getting the Edmonton job. And he's done a really good job there. A very good hockey coach. And this is a really resilient group. And they have a chance to possibly go back to the Cup final for the second year in a row. So, Oilers moving on to the conference finals in the Western Conference for the second year in a row. And the playoff hockey slate tonight will be on TNT, 7 o'clock. Hurricanes and Capitals, Game 5. Carolina leads 3 games to 1. Looking to go to their second conference final since Rob Brind'Amour took the job. They've only turned their out. They got a second, I think it was 2 years ago. And they got swept by Florida in the conference finals. They never won an actual game in the ECF since Brind'Amour took the job. So trying to beat the Eastern Conference's best Washington Capitals. And 9:30 on TNT, Dallas Stars against the Winnipeg Jets in Game 5. Stars lead 3 games to 1. They try to go back to the conference finals once again, trying to knock out the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets tonight at 9:30 Eastern Time. We had some coaching and general manager announcements in the NHL. Philadelphia Flyers hire Rick Tocchet as head coach. Don't love this. Look, Tocchet was a great player. He played for a while. To me, he's an overrated coach. He started his career coaching in Tampa. Well, he took over early on in 2009. Through 2010, was there for 2 years, didn't make the playoffs neither. Was in Arizona for like 4 years from 2018 to 2000. Was fired midway through he was there through 2021. I think he was fired midway through. That was like coming out of the pandemic season. First 2 years was first year was very bad. Second year in 2019 took a step forward, 86 points, but still missed the playoffs. In the pandemic year, because of the bubble, snuck into the playoffs. Following year in the shortened year, didn't get in, got let go. Was in Vancouver the last 3 years. He took over towards the end of the year, a couple of years ago in Vancouver. 2 years ago, they actually played very well under him after they had all that drama with how they handled the Bruce Boudreau thing, and weren't quite able to get to the playoffs, but they got close. Last year, had a very good season, 109 points. You win a playoff series, you end up losing in 7 in the conference semis to Edmonton. Just remember that was when they had all those injuries to their goaltending with Arturas Shilovs. Their third string goalie ended up taking over in that series when Vezina Trophy, that Vezina finalist Dr. Demko went down. But this year took a step back, a lot of drama. Elias Pettersson and JT Miller butted heads throughout the year. Ended up culminating in a JT Miller trade. He ended up getting sent to the New York Rangers right around the trade deadline. They ended up missing the playoffs. So to me, he's a fine coach. Now, Tampa was early on in his career. In Arizona, those teams were really bad in Arizona. In Vancouver, he at one point he kind of righted the ship at first, a place that was kind of a mess, but then definitely lost the room. Not all that was on him. The stuff with Paris and Miller was two kind of soft, kind of butthurt stars that just had trouble playing together, and they definitely butted heads, and ended up with JT Miller getting traded. Paris was floated around. I could see him getting moved in the offseason. However, as a coach, you got to get ahead of that, and he didn't do a good enough job. And also Philly with Tortorella, there were obviously some issues there when he first took over. When he benched Kevin Hayes, Hayes had a problem with that. I think he had a problem with Tony D'Angelo over there. They benched him. It's Torch. He's obviously not for everybody, but I would have went a different direction here. Not gonna lie, than Rick Tosh. I think they needed probably a younger, a little more easygoing coach. It's kind of like the same thing, a recycled kind of more hard-nosed veteran. There was no movement off the Flyers. So Tosh's not a bad coach by any means. The Vancouver Canucks promote Adam Foote to be their next head coach, who's a player for a while in the NHL. He's been their top assistant, and he's next head coach. I was surprised by this. I thought Vancouver would go outside the organization. They've had also a lot of internal issues, like I just mentioned, with Toshette and losing the room just to promote his assistant. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. I could see Vancouver possibly moving some pieces around. So JT Miller goes to the Rangers for Hedel, Mancini, and the first. And now I can see maybe Patterson getting moved. Brock Besser is a free agent. He probably is going to leave. So I was surprised. He's never been a head coach before, so we'll see. If it's a young team, maybe having a young head coach isn't that bad of an idea, but I might probably win outside the organization if I was the Vancouver Canucks. And the Los Angeles Kings have found the general manager. Ken Holland is now the new GM of the Los Angeles Kings. He's overall had a very accomplished career as a GM, played in the league for a while. He's the GM of the Detroit Red Wings for a very long time, was there for 23 seasons, had a lot of success for a while. At one point, they made the playoffs like 22 years in a row. Won at least one cup, might have had a couple. But towards the end, things kind of spiraled out of control. Ended up getting let go after 2019. Became the president of hockey operations for the Edmonton Oilers right after being let go by Detroit. Was there for 6 seasons. Was surprised we let go after last season, despite going to the Cup final. Overall, he did a good job there. Maybe he could have done better when it comes to roster construction, when it comes to, what he put together on the back end and the net. But overall, he's done a good job. He's in the Hall of Fame as a team builder, has been for 5 years. Overall, he's a very good general manager. And I think the Kings made the right choices. They have some pieces in place for sure, but I just need to put it all together, and I think Ken Holland may be the man for the job for the Los Angeles Kings. NBA playoffs last night. Boston Celtics survive another day. Game 5. Boston takes care of business at home. Jaylen Brown had 26, 8, and 12 in the win. 24 points in the loss for Josh Hart. So Boston survives another day. As a Knicks fan, my message to the Knicks, this is still an elite team. This is still a great team. Finish the job. Do not look past the Celtics. Do not look ahead. Finish the job. Boston will have a big win. Luke Cornett, who's their third center, ended up playing a lot of minutes for them because of the Porzingis looked really off. He's dealing with that sickness as he's still kind of getting over from the springtime and with injuries, and he's looked really bad. So he ended up playing a lot, obviously with Tatum out. Al Horford moves into the starting lineup permanently, so he had to play a lot. He played very well. He had 7 blocks in the game. It made a huge impact on the game. That's something that they're going to have to adjust to. But Boston survives another day. Game 6 heads back to Madison Square Garden. That game will be on Friday. And Timberwolves close out the Golden State Warriors 121-110. They win in 5 games. They head back to the Western Conference Finals for the second straight season. Timberwolves moving on. They'll play the winner of the Oklahoma City Thunder and Denver Nuggets. Minnesota moves on 29-8 for Julius Randle. I told you guys he could do it in the playoffs. Everyone bashed him in New York, and I told you guys. Looking back, I don't know if I would even trade him for Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, if Knicks don't close up the series and Towns continues to struggle, I'll definitely be yelling about that. But hopefully Knicks close out. I think they will. But that remains to be seen. I told you he can do it. I gave you next to Anthony Edwards, but still, I told you he can do it. Also, Golden State, Podziemski with 28. Jimmy Butler, I'm sorry, he's not the same player. $60 million extension, that doesn't look great. Look, this game was not all that close, really ever. Timberwolves were up by 15 at the half. We're up by 21 or 22 going into the fourth quarter. And this game was really never close. Minnesota kind of blew them out of the water. I don't know, even if Butler really came to play and put up, what's a typical playoff Jimmy performance and gave you 40 points. But in this game, 4 of 11, 0 of 4 from 3, and only 17 points. Look, 11 field goal attempts from Jimmy Butler. Stephen Curry is not out there. You're obviously not going to get a ton of offense from Draymond Green. Buddy Hield's out there. He was supposed to be your sharpshooter. He did not make a three-pointer in the game. The only guy who really came to play was Jonathan Kuminga, who had 26 on the bench, as well as Podziemski, who had 28. I don't understand why Butler didn't only had 11 shot attempts in the game. Why? We've seen you do this in Miami. Over the years, where you carry a team with Bam Adebayo, who's not really even the threat when it comes to as much of a threat offensively as it is defensively. A young Tyler Hero and really a bunch of Jags to the NBA Finals, and we see him take over games, and he didn't do that last night. 11 shot attempts, really? Look, I get it. You lose Stephen Curry, one of the greatest players ever, the greatest shooter ever, one of the best players in the league, still, even at his age, the best shooter in the league, still, even at his age. I get it. You're playing a really good team. Without him, it was going to be tough to win the series. But there was a good chance he was going to play Game 6. Once he went down, you just need to win one game. Okay? Just one. That's all you needed. All you needed was him to win one game. Just get to Game 6. Get to Game 6. You give yourself a shot. And he couldn't even do that. Okay? He is not a first option anymore. I like him as number 2. After you have stuff helping next year going into the season. But, I don't know if we can trust him in the playoffs anymore. Playoff Jimmy may not be a thing anymore. Not for nothing, the last playoffs he was in, it was in the finals 2 years ago, and he was not good. That playoff run overall was incredible. The finals, he was absolutely terrible. Last year, he gets hurt in the playing game against Philadelphia and ends up missing the rest of the postseason. And this year, honestly, didn't love what they got him. Overall, he had to play very well for them. Changed the dynamic of our team. Before he got there, looking like a play-in exit. They ended up getting to the second round, but Golden State, we'll see what they do. Apparently, they'll keep the core in place, although I do think they're going to try and do a silent trade of Jonathan Kuminga. I think Kuminga's a very good player. I'm surprised he didn't get as many minutes. It took him till Game 5 when their backs against the wall to get minutes in this series. That really never made a lot of sense to me. Why you started Trace Jackson Davis over him? You only played 7 minutes, and then you went right to Kuminga. I don't really understand why Steve Kerr did that. But it's been pretty clear that the Warriors and Steve Kerr don't really value him. I mean, last year they didn't actually start giving him minutes until he came out and be like, yeah, this is not working for me. And then he went off. He averaged 25 a night the rest of the year. So I think he's a very good player. He was a lottery pick for a reason. And if the Warriors aren't going to use him, they should probably send him somewhere else to somebody that will and get something back for him. But that was the NBA playoffs last night. NBA playoffs, of course, continues tonight. Western Conference semifinals: Oklahoma City Thunder, Denver Nuggets. Game 6. Thunder lead 3-2. They try to head back to the Western Conference Finals the first time in quite a few years. But they would face off against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Denver Nuggets trying to force a Game 7. Also, one thing that's MVP. I'm very surprised I have not done that yet. I'm kind of keeping us on the edge of our seat, I guess. Hopefully that gets announced soon. But let's move on. Continue with my NBA offseason preview series. 2 more teams today. 2 more teams that lost in the that have lost in the playoffs that made it. First team is the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Bucks have lost in the first round, 3 years in a row now. You lose to Indiana in the first round this year. Also, you lose Damian Lillard to a torn Achilles. Not really sure where to go from here. You have a little bit of money. You have about 40 million before the second April, so you have not a lot of cap space, but a little. You got Giannis's extension. He's got 2 years left before he has a player option. Dame, who probably isn't going to play next year. He has to retour his Achilles. And I would think he would opt into 27 because he's due 58, almost $58.5 million. He'll be 35, and then his contract is up. Brook Lopez, Jericho Sims, Dream Prince, Gary Trent are all free agents for the Milwaukee Bucks. The only legit players you have under contract next year who are going to play are Giannis, Kyle Kuzma. I'm not sure you call him a legit player. Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, Kevin Porter Jr. all player options. They're probably all opting out. Other than that, it's Andre Jackson, who's still 23. Other than that, it's really nothing. I think you need to trade Giannis. You won a championship a few years ago. Cool. Great. You got your ring. And now, just, the window's over. Okay? Giannis is an amazing player. Great talent. Top 5 player in the league. A chance to be one of the better players the league's ever seen when he retires. All of it is super accomplished. But he's now 30 years old. You have nothing. And you can't really, there's no way to really improve this. You don't have a lot of cap space. You're not well coached with Doc Rivers over there. You don't really have any picks. Looking at the picks you have this year, the Pelicans have swap rights with you. Next year, Pelicans also have swap rights with you, plus, and then I think Atlanta had your other pick in 2028. Portland's got swap rights with you. They have your pick in 29 just outright. They have swap rights with you in 2030. You don't have your own pick till 2031. So you have no draft picks. Not a lot of cap space. You have one superstar. And that is it. There is not a lot to go off here. You need to trade him. Get some salary relief. Get back a couple of young pieces to build around. And get back as many draft picks as you can. In fact, I'll prioritize that. Now, your window is closed. It's over. Okay? It's over. Over. Damian Lillard, I can't imagine he'll be the same player at 35 years old in 2 seasons from now, coming off a torn Achilles. And just Kyle Kuzma isn't any good. They're gonna lose a bunch of pieces in free agency. That early thin bench is gonna get even thinner. And there just isn't anything here. Okay, trade Giannis and start this rebuild because there's really no other option here. Next team is a team that lost in the conference semis in the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Cavs have been a piece away to me for a couple of years now. What do? Your free agent just Ty Jerome, which is a pretty important one, only 27 years old, was a 6th Man of the Year finalist. Sam Merrill, Tristan Thompson, Javonte Green, and that's it. Amani Bates is restricted. When it comes to cap space, luxury tax space, they are over the second apron, so we don't have a room to do a lot. So they have a lot of figuring out to do. Mitchell has 2 more years plus a player option left on his extension. Garland, who recently got an extension, he's got 3 years left. Hunter's got 2 years left. Allen recently signed a $100 million plus extension. He's on the contract for a while. Schroeder's got 2 more years. Even Isaiah Cordell's got 2 more years, though his salary isn't very high. So they need a legit number 2. To do that, I think you need to move some pieces out because you've now lost from the second. You've not been out of the second round. First year with Spotted, you lose in the first round in 5 to the New York Knicks last year. You close one in 5 by Boston. Next year, you lose in 5 to Indiana. It wasn't really a close series. You probably should have won. So something needs to happen. You already blamed the coach. You fired J.B. Bickerstaff after last year. He gets the Detroit job, almost wins Coach of the Year. You bring Kenny Atkinson this year, who overall I think did a good job. I think he's a very good coach. But you can't take the coach right now. To me, I think they should look to move Jared Allen. He's due $20 million this year. If it gets worse from there, it's $28 million, 30.2, 32.4. So he's got a lot of money left on the books. But that's not a horrible contract by any means. He's still 26 years old. He's a solid big man to have. I think you can get something for him. I would move him And then I would probably move Max Strus. I ain't like the kind of when they gave it to him, $64 million. I think it was always an overpay for him. Cause it's a similar thing. Don't pay Heat role players. The Heat cultural thing is real. Eric Spoelstra gets the most out of those guys. Gabe Vincent was a guy who was a really good player for the Miami Heat as their point guard. The Lakers give him a big 3-year deal. He's kind of fallen off the face of the earth since then. Strus is a guy who was a really important piece. 2 years ago in the conference finals against Boston when they beat them a couple years ago, he was really, really good. The Cavs give him a big deal last year, and he's kind of fallen off a cliff. Never do that. It does not work really ever. He's got almost $60 million. He's got next year, the following year, he's got $16.6 million. It's a movable deal. For the amount of playoff experience that guy has, I think someone would take it. I think if you move those two guys, get yourself a legit number 2. I like Donovan Mitchell. He's a great player. First of all, I don't know if he's a one on a championship team. He's a great scorer, can shoot the ball. Obviously, he's a good athlete. He's a really good scorer. He's not a great defender though, and I don't know if he's a one on a championship team. He's had a lot of big games throughout the playoffs. We saw what he did in the bubble. He had a couple of 40 burgers in this playoffs. He's had, in that Knicks series a couple of years ago, he had at least 1 or 2 games where he had 35 plus, 37, 38. But he also has stinkers, and you cannot be called a superstar. Number one option if you're having stinkers every couple of games. If you're like a third option, okay, they can live with you. All right, maybe every few games you don't go through and play. If the rest of the time, you're still giving your usual 18 or 20 points. This is a guy who would average 23 or 26 points in the regular season. For his career is probably around 24, 25, 26. Expected to be a star. To me, he's not a star, and they can do something. They have some other pieces here. I like Evan Mobley, great defender, but not great shooter. His offensive game really hasn't progressed the way that we all thought it would. Darius Garland's a good player. He's a nice ball handler, but first of all, he has been really bad in the postseason. Someone's got to bring up that guy's postseason numbers. They are not good. So he hasn't been great. Hunter's a good player. He was obviously a guy who won a natty at Virginia, was a big piece of that team, was a high draft pick by the Atlanta Hawks. They got him at the trade deadline. I think he's a very good 6-man. He's a very good shooter. He's a solid 3-and-D guy, but again, he's a role player. And you get, Isaac Okoro, to me, is a bust. I don't think he's anything special. You're going to lose Ty Jerome. He had a career. You're going to lose him almost definitely. Dean Wade's a fine backup big to have. That's about it. And Allen, and it's true again, Allen's a solid big to have. He's a good rebounder. He can protect the rim. But he's not giving you much outside of that. I would move him. And Strus, he's not a bad role player to have. A guy who can shoot with 3, can defend the perimeter. He's not a bad 3-and-D guy to have on the bench, but to me, I think you overpaid him. Just nothing special. I think if you move those 2 guys out, maybe get some salary relief, you get back a role player that fits you a little better, get back some picks, and try and get a legit 2 next to Donovan Mitchell. Again, this is another team that would really benefit. They can get Zach LaVine. They really need to. This team desperately needs a legit wing. Okay, I like the point guard you have in Darius Garland. It's only 25. We've talked about Donovan Mitchell, and you have Evan Mobley down low. You're pretty good at the center and power forward spot, but they need a legit wing. Isaac Okoro, and even DeAndre Hunter, you can do a little better than. Go and get yourself a legit wing. Whether that's Zach LaVine or they gotta get somebody. They gotta get a legit wing this offseason. Otherwise, I don't see a best team ever really getting that close to a championship. Really, ever. Unfortunately, Donovan Mitchell might be one of those guys. Great player, but just was not able to win the big one. I mean, that'd be a fair label, but that's why he's going to be labeled until they get him a legit wing and he plays better in the postseason. Got some NFL news. Both Rams extend Derrick Henry with a 2-year, $30 million extension worth $25 million guaranteed. Makes him the highest paid running back in the history of the NFL. Derrick Henry is definitely a future Hall of Famer. He has had, in every healthy season, in every full season he's had over 1,000 yards. In every season that he's played a full season since 2018, he had 1,059 in 2018. Every full year since then, he's had at least 1,100. And the 1 year he only played 8 games, 2021, he had 937 yards. I think he was going to win the MVP if he had stayed healthy. Yeah, for 2,000 yards in 2020. Would have had a shot to get 2,000 again in 2021 had he not gotten her head. Over 1,900 yards last year and 16 touchdowns. The guy's an absolute beast. Everyone was saying last year, oh, he's declining a bit. He's 30 years old. Like, really? You thought that guy was going to fall off? Look at him. The guy who's that size, that skilled. You saw what he did at Cal Alabama winning a Heisman. With the work ethic that guy's got, you thought that guy wasn't going to be anything but a future Hall of Famer? Come on. Until he proves me otherwise, he is still a stud. The only runner that even sniffs him is Saquon Barkley in the NFL. He's a stud. Ravens extend him for the next 2 seasons. And the full schedule came out. I was not going to go game by game. We would be here for 44 hours. It would take forever. But a couple of big games were announced. I mentioned that the Chargers were announced to be playing in Brazil on the Friday, week 1, September 5th. They're going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. That was announced. Chiefs Chargers in Brazil in week 1. And I don't love a lot of these international games being at 9:30 in the morning. That's a little pet peeve I have. I think I mentioned yesterday. And the 2 Christmas games were announced. It's going to be the Dallas Cowboys against the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions against the Minnesota Vikings. They'll be streaming on Netflix. The NFL, they're freaking, it's clear, it's very obvious it's obviously a business. The amount of money that they try and bring in every year is crazy. They already don't need to. Like, I don't need games at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday. I don't need that. No, I get it. You want to extend, into other countries, but like there's 7 international games. You got a few games in London. You got a game in Germany. Got a game in Brazil. You have a game in Spain. Like, do we need to have a game in every country? Like, I don't know if that's necessary. It's what 9:31. I get the time difference is wild there. I'm not too caught up on exactly how old that works, but I know obviously it exists. But like, does it need to be at 9:30 in the morning? Like, what time is it in London at 9:30 a.m.? Like, can someone drop that like in the comments on this podcast? Because I generally do not know. Oh, I'm gonna have to Google it after I go off the air today because I don't know how that crap works. I'm a communication major, not a freaking I don't know history major, or whatever that would come to. So I don't like it. In like I don't need games on Christmas. Like, first of all, Christmas is the NBA day. Like, Christmas Day, when you wake up in the morning, if you're under the age of 14, you're sprinting into your parents' bedroom at 6 o'clock in the morning, going, wake up, Santa came. If you are, I guess, over that age, once you're an adult, it's like, oh, no, I mean, depending on your age, you might have been getting home the night before still. The night before that was Christmas Eve, and that's the day you kind of, just kind of relax. You open some gifts. It's a fun time. And watch some basketball. I'm not watching some football. It's Christmas Day. I don't think football. I think Christmas Day. Like, come on. Thanksgiving, that's football. In fact, I would much rather watch football than do any kind of Thanksgiving activity ever. I cannot stand Thanksgiving, if I'm being completely honest. But I don't need games at 9:30 in the morning every other Sunday. I don't need games on Christmas. Like, the Black Friday game is the most obvious money grab ever. Really? In fact, they put it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The only people that I can watch that are young kids who are off from school or bums that are unemployed. It's so dumb. It's something that gets me riled up. It's so dumb. Dumb. To finish off today, we are going to talk some wrestling. Monday Night Raw recap from a few days ago. So Saturday night main event, the show started to take shape. Kicked off with CM Punk giving a promo. Then Heyman came out. At the Punk called him a snake, and Punk called him the Penguin, which was funny. Then Rollins and Braun came out. They cut a promo. Then he sent Braun to the ring to attack CM Punk. Then Sami Zayn came out, and Rollins got involved, and then eventually Jey Uso, the World Champ, got involved. And Tracy Moy. So still don't know who the third member, or I guess the fourth, if you include Heyman, is gonna be. But it was announced that it's going to be a tag team match between CM Punk and Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins at that main event. I'm very excited for that. I'm telling you, I think Sami and Zayn might turn heel and join Rollins and Braun. If you saw like after their segment, the way like Sami was holding the chair and looking at Jay and Punk, it kind of, and the way like where Rollins and Braun were standing with Heyman, it looked very eerie of like the Plan B from 2014 with the Shields. I don't know. And then backstage, Zayn went to CM Punk saying, do you trust me? And Punk's like, I don't really trust anybody. And Zayn's like, I get it. I go with my own, but you can trust me. Trust you with Survivor Series. And then they fist bumped, and that was it. I don't know. Could be Sami Zayn. Could be Sami Zayn. But that's going to happen on that main event. Also, it was announced that Jey Uso and, because he called out Jay, they're going to fight for the World Heavyweight Championship. That's on the main event. And then we had Penta against Chad Gable. Penta wins the match. You had American Made, which is, the Creed brothers of American Made. They defeated the Warriors in a tag match for fifth from the World Tag Champs, the New Day. We had a Sabu tribute video. Unfortunately, Sabu, one of the Legends of Wrestling ECW legend, unfortunately passed away, so rest in peace to Sabu, one of the all-time greats. AJ Styles and Finn Balor had a really good match. Styles and Finn Balor, can't go wrong. That Styles wins, but Judgment Day came out to help him, but then Penta fought them off. And then Becky Lynch cut a promo about which I enjoyed a lot after losing to Lyra Valkyria at Backlash. So that was Monday Raw, one of the more uneventful ones, to be honest. But that's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long, and have a great day.